Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. I'm Lauren Coughlin, Managing Editor of Food Service Equipment Reports, and this is the ProKnow webinar. Today's webinar is presented by AllPoints in partnership with FER, and we truly appreciate everyone taking the time out of their days to join us. So I know that everyone who is tuning in is well aware of the unique challenges currently facing the food service and service industries. But with a changing market come new opportunities, and we want to help you seize them. So today, Jeff Victory, who is the Senior Sales Manager of National Accounts for AllPoints, is going to share some best practices to redefine success and profitability in the service industry. Today, you'll walk away with practical, functional strategies to grow your margins and increase profitability. Of course, we don't want this to be a one-sided conversation, so as Jeff is talking, please send us your questions in the Q&A chat box on the bottom of your screen, and we will get to those during our Q&A session at the end. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And without further ado, I'm delighted to welcome our esteemed presenter, Jeff Victory.
Esteemed presenter, I like that. Well, welcome everybody. I want to thank Food Equipment Reports, Lauren, Natasha, Christine, the entire team over there for putting this together and including me in it. If you guys aren't currently subscribed to FER magazine or Food Equipment Reports, I suggest you go visit the website, subscribe to the magazine, and stay up to date with all the news that's going on in the food service industry. For those who may not know me, I am Jeff Victory. I'm with AllPoints Food Service Parts Supplies. We specialize in OEM equivalent parts as well as Maverick parts, which is what we kind of focus on, which is a great feel for the service technicians that are out there to repair various types of kitchen equipment. What we're going to go through today is a number of topics. FER magazine has asked me to present on quite a few different things that we've put together over the last few weeks, speaking with other company owners and different technicians and so on in the industry. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in and get going on the first part of the presentation. So as everybody knows, in the last 2 years, there's been a tons of changes in the industry. First thing I'm going to kind of focus on is technology. Man, tech has kind of crept in to food service in the last few years. I think over the last 3 decades, things have changed considerably. Not necessarily how we do business or even the cooking side. So, a lot of the equipment has gotten smarter, but you're still frying food and grilling food and keeping food hot and cold. Obviously, in the last 30 years, things have come out, the internet, the World Wide Web, PCs, laptops. I'm actually talking to you guys on a laptop right now. Cell phones has been a huge improvement in the last two decades for sure. Techs are literally walking around with computers in their pockets now. And so the difference from, today's technician to 20, 30 years ago is beepers, payphones. Some of you guys might remember that, having to walk around with a roll of quarters and drop by a payphone to see where your next call was, or to relay notes, or talk to a dispatcher on the other side of the phone. Equipment manuals is something that's changed as well. Used to, service trucks would have a small library. Now you can pull up everything on your phone and look at parts diagrams and turn equipment around and do all kinds of things. So that, as far as technology, has really, I guess, catapulted the industry forward. Some of you guys are still out there looking through manuals and looking through parts breakdowns. That's just something you're used to, and it may be easier. But I think for the new technicians that are coming up, you're on your phone quite a bit. Tech support's another thing. I think, in the past, equipment maybe wasn't as advanced, so you could probably work your way around most problems. There was a smaller amount of parts to fix most pieces of equipment. Now everything's so proprietary, and there is so many different moving parts within certain pieces of equipment that technicians encounter every day that there's needs to be a solid help on the other end of a phone call. So tech support is, I think, bigger now than it probably was 20, 30 years ago. Um, some of you guys maybe remember those Nokia brick phones where you could play the snake game on them, or maybe a Razor. I thought a Razor phone was so cool, when I was in my teens, I guess is when that might have come out. So just to put a little age on me, but the Nokias were, it was a great phone. I don't think that technicians utilized those phones the same way we do now. This day and age, we're taking videos of the equipment and sequence of operations. We're taking before and after pictures to show the end user, hey, this is what it looked like beforehand. This is what I did. This is how it's working now. So there's a lot more intuitive actions that are going on with technology. The Internet of Things, IoT, Wikipedia describes it as physical objects or groups of such objects with sensors, processing ability, software, and other technologies that connect and exchange data with other devices and systems over the internet or other communication networks. I know for a fact that equipment manufacturers are connecting equipment in the field. I want to say for the last several years now, they've kind of set up their equipment as they're coming off the manufacturing floor to be able to communicate on a local network. A lot of end users as well as manufacturers are kind of worried about the firewall of security portion of that, which is understandable with how everything is connected these days. But I think if you were to go and get a specific equipment package and have everything set up on your local network, then those pieces of equipment should be able to communicate, and you should be able to monitor those remotely if you have access to that network, of course. I think that that's probably where the next wave of innovation in the industry is going to go. I think throughout the food service industry, we've kind of not necessarily been behind the curve, but we've been hesitant to move forward with technology. In the last 2 to 3 years, I think that's changed considerably. I know the HVAC industry already has implemented multiple, off-site monitoring systems within equipment. Those things are being viewed by facilities managers so that they can check temperature or even down to what the compressor's pulling amps or condenser fan motor, what have you. So there's tons of sensors that are being put on equipment now that are communicating over networks or over the internet to not necessarily self-diagnose yet. I know that's around the corner, but it's giving everyone a better view of what's going on with that equipment. I know that we used to use temperature sensors a lot when dealing with refrigeration, because you would have certain issues where you'd go out on a service call and they'd say, well, when I did my temp checks this morning, this cooler wasn't reaching temp. By the time you roll a truck and get a technician out there, it's down to temperature. Everything seems to be working well. So you might chalk it up to a defrost cycle or whatever that may be. Sometimes maybe the kitchen staff's putting in hot product into that cooler and it's not having enough time to catch up and cool down the product before they're taking temps. There's any number of things. Sometimes it could just be the piece of equipment isn't able to keep up. But without being able to put those sensors in there and kind of take it back and throw it in the computer as a little zip drive or however you want to call it, you can see the different flow of temperature spikes and kind of understand the day-to-day operations just based on a simple temperature sensor. So even that technology has really skyrocketed forward in the past 5 years. There's a lot of monitoring companies out there that I know for a fact have put their software and hardware into hospitals to basically monitor blood banks, so that if the equipment's going down, they can roll a technician or maybe remotely fix it, depending on if it's something simple. So a lot of technology and automation is moving forward in that sense. Speaking of automation, we have something that's been on the, I guess, agenda for many conferences over the last year or two is robots. Lots of end users are introducing some form of robotic aspect into their operation. There's a manufacturer by the name of Miso Robotics that's really been cooking lately, pun intended. Flippy 2 is the second generation of a robotic fry cook. And basically, it's a robotic arm that's frying French fries and chicken tenders and other things of that nature in a bank of fryers encapsulated by fiberglass, basically. So a lot of technicians are starting to see not just only working on that fryer that may have gone down, but they're also having to potentially deal with the robot that's in there cooking on the fryer. I know that in the recent conference I went to, it was a big conversation piece on, how technicians are going to tackle this, and does everybody want to jump into that portion of the business, or you want to still just continue to fix kitchen equipment? And there's a lot of growth there. There's also a lot of hesitancy. Artificial intelligence is another thing that's been introduced into the industry. Soon robots will learn to anticipate orders and drop fries or drop a burger patty before, based on the order volume of the last 10 people or something. So then Skynet will come and Terminator will be here, and it'll all be if not. So one thing that robots have done is helped with the reduction in manual labor. Everybody talks about finding workers, can't find people to do the job, can't find skilled labor. And honestly, I don't know what the answer to that is. I feel like there's people that out there that want to work. Maybe the just consumer demand is so high that there's not enough in the workforce anymore. Everybody can go to, some people are kind of aging out and retiring, and maybe that has a lot to do with it. Population deficiency, I don't know. But robots is definitely playing that card that this is going to be the answer to a potential labor shortage over the next decade or two. And it seems like it's going to help. You don't have to certainly pay a robot as much as you do someone who has a family emergency every few years. So those things are going to continue to be on the forefront of the industry. I think pizza has really taken up robots. There's a company by the name of Pazzi Robotics. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's Pazzi. It's an autonomous pizza making robot. From the time you type in your order on a screen, it goes through the motions of, getting dough sent out, puts the sauce on it, has the regulated amount of cheese set down, toppings, then it throws it in the oven, pulls it out of the oven, sets it into a box, and even cuts it for you before it sends it to the door. And watching that video, I was just amazed, because it makes you really wonder, where the food industry is going, because it's always been kind of a manual, personal touch, face-to-face business. I think we'll still have that, but I think back of house operations is going to continue to move forward with autonomy. The simple fact that you can order from a screen, you don't have to talk to someone, and then you go and you get a text message with a barcode or a QRC code or whatever it may be. You go back to that same screen, scans your QRC code, and then out pops your pizza. It was pretty cool to watch. I'm sure some of you guys have seen that at conferences over the last couple of years. I still think it's amazing. There's various pizza kiosks that are coming out. Those kind of companies are popping up all over the place. They're putting kiosks on college campuses. They're putting them in high travel areas. So in a sense, pizza is moving the industry forward. Being from Texas, I wonder if burgers will be next. I think probably will. When you have some time, look up Robo Burger. It seems that that's kind of down the same road. You put in what you want on a burger and a robot's going to make it and send it out to you. So those types of things are going to be the next part of our business, and how we deal with it as a service agent is really going to, kind of shape our industry going forward as well. So from equipment to service to end user, autonomy and robots is definitely part of the future. You'll probably hear more about this at the upcoming Sefesta conference. So I'll move on to software. In our industry, we talked a ton about training. That has been the conversation at a industry meeting for as long as I've been a part of the industry. I think that finally people that are a lot smarter than me, which doesn't take much, have created online training software. A couple that come to mind is Interplay Learning or FS Genius. These people are putting these platforms together, and some of you guys may have used them already. They're touch and click, kind of almost multiple choice in a sense, where if you click on the wrong thing, it doesn't allow you to move forward. So, but it walks you through repairing equipment, so that if you do see that specific piece of equipment or that sequence of operations in the field, you may be a little more comfortable, as opposed to just on-job training. I know that I think the next wave of that, as far as training, is going to be, I guess people call it the metaverse, where you put on a set of goggles and you have these hand batons. So I know that that's already happening. I haven't personally done it yet myself, but I think that will be a way for new technicians to be attracted into the industry, because it's more of a video game instead of getting greasy and dirty like the way I trained. Probably most of the technicians out there trained as well. That's part of the business, but we definitely need more training. There's tons of different types of equipment out there, and I think we've lost the simple mechanic part of the business. So I think that kind of training is going to be beneficial to not only new technicians, but even older technicians that are trying to learn new technology. There's also a lot of different patches to existing software. A lot of these service technicians out here have had their same dispatch software for 20 years. Now, as we talked about, the last 20 years has had a lot of technological advancement. So being able to keep your existing software, which you're used to and everyone on your team is used to, you can now patch these certain additions onto that. A couple that come to mind is XOI or a Quant. XOI is kind of, back to that text being able to take before and after pictures or videos to submit to that end user to give them a little more understanding of what's going on with their equipment. A Quant's a little different. It's using artificial intelligence to take service from service technicians across the country and even the world at some point, or maybe they're already doing that, to help technicians prepare for a service call based on what type of manufacturer it is, what the call was put in for. You're able to send a technician out there with a better understanding of what the problem could be, as well as what parts are most likely to go bad on that piece of equipment. Another up and coming software, speaking of dispatch software, is Repairs. The Bartolucci brothers, who grew up in the restaurant industry, are creating a modern industry specific software. Their main goal is just to connect all sectors of the industry. That's something that I think has been talked about in the past. These guys are really pushing forward to bring a world-class dispatch software that's also going to connect to your dealers, your manufacturers, your consultants, and kind of bring this segmented industry closer to where everybody can communicate a little better. Automation is something that is, I guess, the evolution of technology. Anytime you have technology, you're going to find ways to make it easier to use, and that's the way I view automation. It's going to take those tasks that you're still manually inputting into current technology and make it automatic, so that you're no longer having to manually do those tasks. We talked a little bit about it. Equipment is more automated. I think you have some burger shops out there that have a little arm that comes down, grills the burger, and then comes up. That was probably more when I was still running service calls. Now you have robots that are flipping the burger for you. So things are going to continue to progress in that sense. Communication is going to become automated. The dispatch notes, the IVRs, the checking in, the checking out, all the different acronyms that are being thrown around in the tech world now, EDI, APR, these things are finally flowing into the food service industry. And I think technicians and service companies are starting to latch on a lot more because it's making their lives easier. I want to say in the first part of the 2010s, we were all trying to acclimate to technology and at the same time do the business. And so doing, a lot of companies are still doing double and triple entry for notes, and checking in and checking out is all still manual. I think a lot of companies are pushing forward with being able to automate their communication with their customers, which is going to change the way we do business for sure. It's still a work in progress, but I like where things are headed. Third parties is another part of technology and automation in the industry. This is something that, come to find out, has been around since the 90s. I didn't first deal with it until probably mid 2005 to 2008. So I think what third parties has done is given the customers the opportunity to expand the way they do business. It's also given them a chance to get feedback from their service agents instead of receiving, well, they probably still receive a million phone calls, but in a sense, it's supposed to make things a lot easier. Once again, I didn't know that these things came out in the 90s. I wonder how many of you did. This portion of the industry has certainly evolved from just maintenance individuals, serving a few different locations, to now having a large portfolio that they keep up with from day to day. Going back to the automated communication, I think our communication with third parties and us, in a sense, the end user, is going to be one of the top subjects in the next year or so to kind of bring that under everybody's wing, because technicians, dispatchers, company owners, everyone has the same issue with the amount of manual labor it takes today to communicate with your customers. Gone are the days of just having that simple face-to-face conversation with the manager you move on to your next call. We just can't do that anymore. There's asset tracking, there's, even down to component tracking that some customers want, and they're going to get at this point. We're going to jump a little forward to service techs having a voice. Maybe my opinion, but I don't think service techs have gotten the respect they deserve in the past. That has certainly changed. They're, considered your blue collar hero status now, which I'm all for. I think that service technicians put in a ton of hard work. The physical aspect is one thing, the mental aspect and stress is a completely different one. To basically be by yourself, riding around in a service van for 12 to 15 hours a day, talking with most of the time upset, customers, or maybe not upset it's you as a technician, but upset in general because they have a lot of stress on their shoulders as well. So a technician wears a lot of hats. I think that they're finally starting to get the respect that they deserve, in the sense that our society as a whole is start to come around. Trades in general have recently got a ton of backing mainstream, in my opinion. And that's probably just because that's all I see on social media now. But I think you see stuff that even on TV shows that are coming out, and a lot of it has to do with house remodeling, but I think that's going to flow into the more technical side of the business as well. Also, Safesa Cares Scholarship is, Safesa has always been a huge proponent for technicians. In the last year or two, they have come out with a scholarship that's kind of attracting new technicians into the business, and, a way to basically attract younger folks that maybe didn't think that they wanted to be in the food service industry. It's actually open right now for the fall scholarship. So you can go to the website under Safesa Cares, and the deadline for the application is December 1st of this year. So if you or maybe someone would be a good fit, applicants must be 17 years of older. They must be in the process of obtaining a high school diploma, and they must be interested in pursuing a career as a service technician in the food service industry. So I think that that's a great gateway. It gives those guys a leg up to not only jump into the industry, but to kind of catapult themselves forward with what you get from that scholarship. Another thing that we're doing at AllPoints is a Tech of the Month program, something we rolled out in July. We've gotten quite a few applicants. You can apply. It's open for the month of September right now. You can nominate the same technician every month, or basically it's just there to kind of recognize your top performing technician. Once again, in my opinion, I didn't think we got the respect we deserve in the past. I think that has drastically changed over the last few years. And this is just one more feather in the hat to, kind of get the word out that, we do love our techs and we do respect them, and they do work hard. So make sure you're going to nominate your top performing technician, and whoever wins each month, they get a little prize, but the grand winner at the end is going to get to go to the big game in Arizona, I think it is. So we know that the NFL season just started. This is going to be a good way to get people involved for sure. One thing about technicians having a voice, I've said this before, in other countries, they call technicians engineers in a sense, and they view them as the same level as a doctor or a lawyer, because to get to that level of technical expertise, there's a lot of schooling, a lot of experience that goes into it, and they're the people that keep infrastructure afloat. I think if restaurants weren't able to fix their equipment, we'd have a lot of upset people. I know for a fact I eat out a lot more than I did pre-pandemic, and I should probably stop, but I'm not going to. I just like to eat good food. So what can you do about that? Um, Another way is that technicians, ladies and gentlemen, are expressing themselves through social media. Now, we've had social media for almost 2 decades now, but it's just recently become more prevalent. Some of the guys have been doing it for years and years, but I have seen a lot more jump on the bandwagon of expressing themselves through social media or showing what they're working on or doing how-to videos over the last 2 or 3 years. That has been an explosion in my social media feed. So I think it's great, but I also think it gives these guys another platform to express who they are, what they care about, what they're doing. At the end of the day, technicians are kind of calling the shots. They're earning a great living. They kind of name the price where they go because everyone is literally hiring across the country right now. I don't know of one company that's going, nah, we have too many techs and, we don't need any more. So if you're out there, you are definitely not the norm. Once again, I could go on and on about technicians having a voice. I think you guys get the point. Let's move on to warranty. So warranty was something that was brought up. We did a lot of interviews with, as I mentioned, service companies and owners, and warranty is always a tough subject in the sense everybody has an opinion and they all stink. So warranty is described as a written guarantee. Basically, the manufacturer of a piece of equipment puts a warranty on it that says it's going to work for X amount of days. And if anything happens based on workman deficiency, then the manufacturer would cover it. Those time periods have been extended and pulled back over many years. It's been a sales tool for some of the sales guys out there. And it's basically a promise to say that they'll repair or replace equipment within a specified period. Some of the industry, has their opinion on it. For me, I think warranty it should be something that's used. I expect if I buy something that it's going to work for a period of time because I spent hard-earned money on it. Manufacturing and service partnerships is, I think, where the main issue is these days. I've had lots of conversations with manufacturers and we're all on the same page. I just don't think we get in the same room to discuss the issues that each of us run into. Going back to training, that's always something that service technicians want. And that's what manufacturers want as well, because they don't want to send out a technician to a piece of their equipment and the technician not know what's going on because they haven't been trained on it. The tough part is that service technicians are working on 250 plus different manufacturers over 3 to 4 different trades, and a manufacturer has a line of equipment that they're focused on. So there's always a disconnect there in the sense that, hey, I'm important, and then, well, I have, other important customers as well. I think that having that conversation and continuing that conversation is very important. I remember as a service technician, as a company owner, wanting to be an authorized service agent for every manufacturer I encountered. Not only did it make me feel cool, I felt like it legitimized my business. I felt like going into a customer and seeing that they had X manufacturer behind the line. Hey, we're factory authorized to work on the equipment. There's multiple different positives. And once again, I wanted the customer to see me as a legitimate company who was trustworthy and could fix their equipment. I also wanted to make sure that my competition who might have been a factory authorized agent wasn't coming into my customer's kitchen and fixing their equipment and potentially walking away with that business as well. So there's a number of things that warranty and those manufacturer relationships run into. But at the end of the day, it's something that is needed, and we can't get away from warranty. We're just going to have to continue to work to understand what's best for the customer at the end of the day and work the differences between the service agents and the manufacturers out behind a closed door. Once again, having that relationship is key to being able to do warranty work. Having a solid relationship with an equipment manufacturer opens doors that you didn't know needed to be open. So, we talked about training, we talked about business legitimization, we talked about, a sales strategy. The other part of it is having a manufacturer recommend you as a service company in the region that you work in. If you have a relationship there, why wouldn't they recommend you to the end user to work on their equipment inside the restaurant? So that leads to the potential of working on other pieces of equipment in that same location. Also, you have a lot of manufacturer reps that are in front of the same customer that you are. And if you have a manufacturer rep that's also tooting your horn, it's just another opportunity for you to succeed within your region. First time fix rates. So this has been something that has been spoken about a lot in the past few years. I would say in 2010, I did not really care much about first time fix rate. I think a lot of your third parties and a lot of KPIs have really driven this to the forefront. The key performance indicators has been more prevalent over the past decade, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just because I've noticed it more. But everybody has graphs and is tracking this and, asset tagging that. So I think that the more data that's being brought in and the more indicators that are being pointed out. So techs become more available to the end user based on a specific metric too. Within your own company, you can say that this technician has a high first time fix rate for X manufacturer, so we should keep him in that lane. The issue with that is then a technician doesn't get the chance to broaden their horizon and see other manufacturers. I think a lot of guys get pigeonholed in a sense because maybe they catch on to a specific piece of equipment faster or better than others, so that then they're forced to work on that for a chain account or whoever may have that across the board, as opposed to cross-training multiple technicians and getting that technician cross-trained on different pieces of equipment as well. As tracking technology becomes more rampant, we're going to see a lot more, I guess, detailed reporting on equipment. And, with artificial intelligence, it's tough to say what the future is really going to look like. Is training going to be training on looking for specific issues, or is it going to be kind of the age-old sequence of operation? Or, I don't know where that leads, but I know that first-time fix rate is something that manufacturers to end users are looking at now. And with any data collection, there's always some trick or way around it. Did the equipment get fixed on the first visit? Well, that leads to more questions because, did you have the right parts on the truck? Did that technician have the right training? Did he have the right tools? Is that equipment under warranty? even some have challenges because of product availability, and are they sending a technician out there before they have the part on the truck? It's a double-edged sword, because you don't want your KPIs to fall with an end user or a specific manufacturer if you were waiting on the correct parts based on the problem that was told to the dispatcher over the phone. So you may hold that call before sending a technician to make sure you have certain parts on the vehicle before going out there to hit that first time fix rate. I think it's a good and a bad thing. I think it's great if everybody's driving a semi truck around and can fix every piece of equipment out there. At the end of the day, though, you want to be able to get an end user's equipment up and running, because they need to make money as well, and they got pizzas to cook and burgers to flip. So first time fix rate is going to continue to be a KPI that end users, service technicians, and manufacturers follow. But depending on what those guidelines are is kind of be what drives your business. So that was a long-winded way to go through some of the changes that are in the industry. Moving on to profitability issues. Obviously, the pandemic, supply challenges, and labor shortages has squeezed the food service industry, to say the least. I think everybody shut down. Nobody knew what was going on, what they were going to do. People started getting laid off. People started really looking hard at their business and how they can make it more efficient. What we did over the last few months is gather that information from service agencies and kind of figure out what they did across the nation, what was kind of best practices and what helped them survive or thrive in the pandemic and now in 2022 and beyond. So one of those being growth. I asked this question recently at a NFC charity event, and because I kept hearing every single service agent talk about how busy they were. We're slammed. We're more busy now than we were pre-pandemic. And I couldn't understand. I was, obviously things slowed down for everybody. Didn't matter. Everybody got affected. And so why now, when for the longest time people were wondering, is the business going to come back? What are we going to do? So, remember, people were laying folks off and kind of making their business more efficient. A lot of the owners got back into the day-to-day operation. Maybe they weren't as involved as they are now today. And so, during the pandemic, but the consequences is that everyone seems more busy than pre-pandemic. And so, a lot of answers were thrown around. Maybe you guys have some answers or questions or suggestions. I'd be curious to know what everybody's thoughts are. I think there's less suppliers now. How is this affecting the overall supply chain with maybe only 2 major distributors? I think that a lot of companies looked at their inventory on the supply side and started really holding on to cash because they didn't know what was going to happen. And then you have a plethora of issues that came along with that. You have less suppliers. You also have delivery issues. These were things that I don't think anybody was expecting. Has anyone noticed that as a consumer, we're all buying more and more online? I mean, literally, Amazon stood up their own delivery company because they were shipping so many products. This was something they were already in the process of doing, but I see more Amazon trucks running around my neighborhood than I do UPS or FedEx now. Now maybe UPS and FedEx have moved more into the commercial portion of the business, but I think when everybody was sent home, everybody's hair was on fire because nobody could go anywhere. So they were ordering everything online. and these delivery companies were just, having great years, but it was tough for them to keep up. And I think we still have some of those issues where we're not, getting products in a timely manner. Everybody said supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. And that's still some of the issue today. I think we're probably going to have another round of that. I don't want it to happen, but it seems that all the indicators are moving towards, potentially another issue in 2023. You got a lot of people saying order your Christmas presents now because they may not be there in December. I think they said that last year too. So, I wonder, are we causing our own shipping and delivery issues because everybody is ordering more online? Could be the case, or maybe the freight companies are having the same issue that we are in finding people to do the job. But I think that the more stress on the system is creating more cracks, and because shipping companies are unable to keep up with consumer demand, maybe that's the reason. But maybe someone else has a better insight. I also think it's a chain reaction. Delivery issues are one thing because you have the supplier who's communicating to their customer a specific date or time, or when they should expect their product to arrive. So then that customer is passing along the information to their customer. Then something happens, not allowing that product to reach the destination in specified time, which the overall reaction is negative back up the chain, because promise made, promise not kept is it's an issue. Nobody wants to be lied to, and it may not necessarily be a lie. It just, something happens, and I think that everybody's kind of on edge now. Everybody wants things now. You got robots flipping burgers and pizzas, and you can get updates on your phone for just about everything. So we've become accustomed to getting anything and everything as fast as we want it. So that is probably another issue and all in itself. I'm going to try to speed things up here. Let's move on to supply issues. How many shipping containers are still on the West Coast? As of August 29th, there is 8 cargo ships off the coast, off LA's coast, down from 109 in January. And everybody might say, hey, oh, that's great. We're moving product. I think the reality is that we've opened up the Gulf Coast and East Coast, which are now backlogged. So we have record back orders, across all sectors. No matter where you're trying to order something, it's, a lot of things are on back order. So it appears that cargo ships were tired of maybe waiting to get their stuff received in LA, and so they started moving to Houston, Georgia, and New York. So maybe that's a contributor to the lack of consistency of available products. Equipment breaks down, you roll a service truck, he diagnoses and identifies a part. Then as a service company, maybe that part's on back order for 2 months, or there's no ETA on it at all. So you have money that's already into that call, and you're spending more time trying to source parts to get equipment back up and running so you can submit that invoice. It's led to a lot of issues down the chain, and everybody's witnessing that and dealing with it. I think repair of equipment is up because equipment inventory is down, new equipment inventory. But that's once again due to components needed to complete equipment. And it has that domino effect, which leads to everyone's hair on fire and trying to keep up with demand. Another thing is vehicles. We have all run into difficulty trying to find vehicles. I think if you're getting money off of list price at this point, you're catching a deal. I do not want to buy a new vehicle right now. I don't want to buy a used vehicle right now. I think you can get more money for your used vehicle than some of the new vehicles that are out there right now. So pricing, availability, new and used inventory, it's all down across the board. Some businesses were paying above asking price and asking how many they can get. You've got some manufacturers that had preset numbers or orders that they canceled because maybe they don't want to fulfill them, or maybe they can fulfill them for a higher price than what was originally negotiated. So you've got, car dealerships or car manufacturers that are basically just saying, no, we don't have to fulfill the contract that we signed with you guys. Going back to the component shortage, you have that chip shortage that caused a lot of this. So how AllPoints helped improve profitability. AllPoints has a better price point than a lot of the competitors out there. We source parts, so we're able to save the end user, or in this case, the technician, a lot more money on the same parts they buy elsewhere. We cut out the middleman in a sense. For those that don't know, we are part of the National Service Cooperative. If you are not, I suggest looking into it and signing up. They have a buying group by the name of Index. You can talk with Robert Smith or Bob Smith, and he would be more than happy to get you more information on that. It is based on volume pricing. So with AllPoints, you're going to get a better price, but we also give a rebate back to the NSC, which goes back to your bottom line. Creating relationships. That's what I do. My position is to create relationships and build better ones. I try to do my best to do that. It's been tough over the last couple of years, not being able to get out and see people like we used to. But I think that having someone in your corner is far better. So I always tell people I'm a customer advocate that wants to do business. Communication is a part of that. Whether it's a phone call, email, or a video chat. I think that we here at AllPoints are always wanting to involve ourselves in your business and consult and build that partnership and best utilize what we have at our disposal to help you as a business. Obviously, we have high quality parts. They're just at a lower price. That goes back to sourcing the correct parts and bypassing some of those middlemen that'll put a little extra markup in there. I think a big part of what AllPoints has done in the last 45 years is cross OEMs, and we made them OEM equivalents. We've basically gone to the component manufacturer and bought the exact same part that the manufacturers do and pass on that savings to end users and technicians. So I talked about this early. Some of the best practices we have, we went out and got a ton of different feedback from company owners. One of the answers was, don't be bashful about your rates, especially as a service agent. You got a lot of fly-by-night guys that are charging pretty low prices, but they're not going to be in business for long, or maybe they don't have the same training that you're investing in. So don't be bashful, stick to your rates. A lot of people can't see a change or in the market, but I think if you keep your ear to the ground and you're involved in associations, you're going to be able to stay above board, keep your head above water when changes do come. That's why I spent a lot of time talking about robotics. I think that's going to be a huge influx of opportunity within the food service industry on the repair side. Being honest and transparent. There's not much else I can really say about that. I've always been honest to a fault with my customers. I would rather them understand the situation and where I messed up or where there's an opportunity for them to succeed a little more than being around the bush or trying to cover something up. Because then you got to try to figure out how to keep that going. If you're just upfront and honest, then you can go to sleep at night and there's no big deal. Aftermarket parts. I think in the auto industry, it's been this way for a long time. I know in refrigeration and HVAC, we used aftermarket parts all the time. Once again, it's the same exact part, a universal part, a original a component manufacturer, whatever you want to call it. Having the opportunity to use those is going to increase your business. Hey, Lauren. OEM equivalence is aftermarket parts. So having a collaborative mindset to utilize your relationships and build those with manufacturers, with end users, with dealers, with reps. If you're not actively trying to collaborate with other industry leaders, then you're going at things alone. So let's see. I talked about the NSC membership. The EBITDA programs and profitability, I'll touch on that a little bit. Being able to save money to your bottom line is going to make your EBITDA look better. I think that that's something a lot of these companies, as companies are selling or getting rolled up, are potentially looking at to kind of create a little more basis points in their business. AllPoints is another opportunity for you to do that. If you're gaining an extra 25% on parts markup, that's going straight to your bottom line, in my opinion. Roger with United Service Technologies has a couple of insights and strategies that he's been using over the years. He recently did have a transaction with one of the larger companies here in our industry, Tech24. He believes that you should be raising prices. If you're giving a solid service, then you should get paid well for it. He rates his customers based on, who's good to do business with, who's paying right, and who's treating their technicians right when they're on site. They used to have everyday profit plans and look into how money is being spent at the technician level and figure out how to make that a little more efficient or cut back or increase depending on what was beneficial for their everyday business. And having that retention of those technicians is far better than having to go out and find new technicians all the time. Inventory control is self-explanatory. I think we all have to deal with that. I'm going to push things back over to Lauren, talk about some questions. I did fly through those best practices, so please feel free to ask whatever you like. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Jeff. That was great. We did have 2 questions come in. So if anyone has last minute ones, we can run just a tiny bit over, but I'll get to those 2 right away so we hopefully don't go too far over our time. So the first question, early in today's presentation, you talked about food services slow technology automation adoption, accelerating in the most recent 1 to 2 years. With rare exception, technological and automation breakthroughs are either driven by the demand, end user, or supply side, manufacturers. In food service, is the innovation catalyst coming more from manufacturers or end users?
That's a great question. I would say that end users as a society, to be quite honest. I think manufacturers are keeping up with that demand as well. I look back to when I was a technician, and one of my selling points in 2008 was we have paperless billing. We're doing our invoicing through our pads in the field. And in 2008, a lot of the competitors are still writing. We had those big books of, a lot of people had like a silver canister is what I call it, where you had 3-ply invoices in there. So when you think that's only 12 years ago or 14 years ago, sorry. And so 14 years ago, people were still writing paper invoices. Now you can create an invoice in the field with video and picture on it, explain what you did from the beginning to the end, and it can be sent directly to the customer via EDI. So I think end user is always going to be what kind of drives any technological innovation. Because I talked again about robotics. So you have a labor shortage, but the consumer is still wanting to get their burger and their pizza. So are they going to really care? In a sense, are they going to care if there's someone back there making it or not? They just want their food. So I think manufacturers are keeping up with that, and the technology's there today. So a lot of investment has been put towards, kind of bringing food service to where everybody else is in the world.
Okay. And our second question is, you successfully built, ran, and sold your own service agency business, and you used AllPoints Maverick parts as the main source of commercial food kitchen parts. How can the service industry maximize its profitability with Maverick parts?
So I spoke a little bit about this towards the end with basically, I mean, it's a no-brainer. If you're going out to work on equipment and you can buy the same exact part for 25% less, then why wouldn't you?
Mhm.
That's the easiest question in the book ever. I would, everybody can talk about, well, it's OEM, it's not OEM, but if it's literally the same part from the same exact component manufacturer, what are you losing out on? You're going to gain an extra 25% in profit from the get-go, and you can either invest that back into your business, you can give that out to your technicians as bonus, or going back to investment, you can buy more parts with that, so you can have a larger inventory in each technician's truck or in your warehouse, so that first time fix rate will then start to be better. I don't see any cons in that specific part of it. Using Maverick parts is a no-brainer. We have 16,000 different parts that cross over to OEMs. So it's tough to say that there's a bad decision there.
Okay. And then just one final question, just because I know you did kind of rush a little bit through those lessons.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you really want people to take away, one lesson that you think is the most valuable, what do you hope that is?
Man, I think I touched a lot of stuff. We have a lot of technology that's coming out. Training is still on the forefront of everybody's mind. I think technicians are getting a bigger voice with social media now. If I were to say take away anything from today, it would be look inward and really ask yourself, what is it that you're bringing to your business, into the industry? Why are you in business? And what is it that you want to get out of going to work each day?
Okay.
Is
Great.
it positive? Is it negative? That's for you to figure out.
Okay. Well, anything else on your side, Jeff, that you wanted to add?
And I just want to thank you guys at Food Equipment Reports for letting me do this and involve me in this. I look forward to what may be next. And once again, I really appreciate meeting you guys.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. And that was a great presentation, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff. Good job catching up there.